why English is important, what stops us from speaking in English or communicating in English, the fears we have, how we can overcome them, why we should overcome them. We looked at pronunciation, where we started off straight away with the English alphabets. We looked at how the English alphabets are pronounced, some of the common mistakes which are there in our region. We also looked at some of the words, some of the common mistakes of pronunciation, some of the words. And we started off with nursery rhymes. Why nursery rhymes are important, how it can help us in our pronunciation, in our communication. And we went all the way to tongue twisters, how tongue twisters can help us disengage our tongue, our inability to speak in English. In our second session today, we have with us Miss Sadia. I'm going to ask Miss Sadia to please introduce herself briefly. Miss Sadia, if you can please introduce yourself briefly.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mir Sadia Rushi, and I'm working for LCPR, which stands for Leadership Council for Policy and Research. I'm working here for last 2 years as a research consultant, and I'm hoping to have something very great from this course, which can enhance my English qualification further. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadia. So, Sadia, in our second session today, we're going to go more in depth into the English pronunciation, right? So, why is English pronunciation so difficult? One of the main reasons why English pronunciation is difficult is because English is a non-phonetic language, right? English is a non-phonetic. I mean, largely a non-phonetic. I'm not saying all the words are non-phonetic, but it is largely a non-phonetic language. If we look at the word E-N-O-U-G-H, E-N-O-U-G-H, which is pronounced as enough. And there are other words which end with O-U-G-H. Sadia, if I may please ask you to read or pronounce those words.
The words are as following: is through, thou, draw, hiccup, and cuff.
Right. So which one do you think rhymes with enough?
I think the word hiccup is rhymes with enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So the O-U-G-H, the enough, right? We go enough, and H-I-C-C-O-U-G-H is also hiccup. So at the end, we have enough and hiccup. So although we have O-U-G-H in the other words, the pronunciations differ. So phonetic means you can look at a certain word which is written, right? Which is a written word, but it's not pronounced that way. That's non-phonetic, right? I'm looking at a particular word, right? It should be pronounced something else, but it is pronounced completely different. Right? Sometimes a word with exact same spelling are pronounced differently. For example, in the PowerPoint presentation where I've written, I have read that book, right? R-E-A-D becomes I have read that book, right? But same thing when it comes to another sentence, it goes as I like to read that book. So R-E-A-D, it one sentence is pronounced as read, and another sentence is pronounced as read. Right? So we've got same spelling, different pronunciation. Or it could be the other way around, right? Where you go like, I have read that book, R-E-A-D is read that book, and that color is red, R-E-D. So you've got different spellings, but same pronunciation. Confusing, right? I mean, in one of the sentence, I've got the spellings are the same, but pronunciation is different. In another sentence, where the spellings are different, but the pronunciation is same. So this is what is meant by non-phonetic. What you see, what it should be, it is not there. And there are a lot of words like that. So when people say why English pronunciation is difficult, that's not what we should be focused on. The right question is, why is English so difficult to spell? I mean, I am pronouncing it in a certain way, and I should be able to pronounce that spelling. Sorry, I'm pronouncing in a certain way. I should just be able to spell that pronunciation, right? Sorry. So I should, when I hear a pronunciation, when I pronounce something, I should be able to spell the pronunciation the same way every time. But that's not the case when it comes to English, right? So our main focus should be to practice the pronunciation and forget about what is written in English, right? Focus more on the pronunciation rather than what is written in English. Think only of the sounds of the words. Think only of the sounds of the words, right? Coming back to our word enough, right? O-U-G-H. O-U-G-H, where it is at the end of certain words. O-U-G-H can actually be pronounced in 7 different ways, right? In 7 different ways. If you look at the PowerPoint presentation we have, there are 7 words. For example, T-H-O-U-G-H. It sounds as though, right? Like the O in go, like go, O, to. T-H-O-U-D-H. T-H-O-U-G-H. Though. Simple. So you think every time O-U-G-H, I'm going to spell it, pronounce it as O. No. We come to the second one, where we've got through. T-H-R-O-U-G-H. It is like the U in to, which becomes through. So O-U-G-H becomes U, through. We looked at cough, C-O-U-G-H, cough, right? As an offer, cough, C-H-O-U-G-H, cough. R-O-U-G-H, rough, R-O-U-G-H, rough. P-L-O-U-G-H, plow, flower, or plow. O, flower, so plow. Ought, O-U-G-H becomes ought. B-R-O-U-G-H becomes borough. Completely different, right? Borough, the O-U-G-H, it sounds like A, like in above. So borough. So we've looked at those. Now, some of the common words where we, in our normal day-to-day speaking, some very common words are non-phonetic. For example, if I say could, could, could. But why is could pronounced as could? It should actually be the C. If I say C, what do you hear? C. Do you hear the alphabet C being pronounced as K? Or do you hear the alphabet C being pronounced as C, as in SEA? The alphabet C sounds like SEA, right? C. So shouldn't the word could be pronounced as sud or suld? Even if you look at the L is silent, right? So SCOULD, if I say C, should be pronounced as COUL, sul, de. So shouldn't it be pronounced something like that? Suld. But no, it is pronounced as could. So this is what is meant by non-phonetic. I'm looking at a particular word. It is written in a certain way, but it is pronounced as could. The same thing. Another example, mother. 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 MO should be mo. If I look at my alphabets, M and O is O, mo. T as in is in T, so motor. EHER, so something like motor. But no, it is pronounced as mother. It is a non-phonetic word, right? Where I look at a particular word, it is not pronounced as certain way, the way it should be. Look, similar words, it could be like KNIGHT, KNIGHT, night, where the K is silent. It goes like NIGHT. Even the word night is just the word NIGHT, right? It is non-phonetic. N, I, it should be ni, G is something like J. Why is it, where's the J? HT, right? So it is non-phonetic. Phone, PHONE. PH becomes F. Why is PH becoming an F? It should be like phone, but it is not. It is phone. So these are some of the examples of what is a non-phonetic language. Now, we're going to look at some more examples of the difficulty in English pronunciation, right? One of the difficulty is some of the words, the meaning changes in terms of which syllable you stress on, right? So a particular word, right? There are maybe 2 or 3 or 4, 5 syllables. Syllables are sounds, right? Depending on where you stress a certain syllable, the meaning of a word changes, right? Example in your slides, we've looked at the word CONTEST, right? CONTEST. So if I say contest, right, where my stress is in the word, is in the syllable con, right? Contest. That means to participate in a particular competition, right? Right? So it's a competition. I have example. I have participated in a particular contest. Right? Now, if I say contest, that means I am challenging something, right? Contest, maybe I am opposing a particular verdict. I'm opposing someone, right? Contest. So you see the same word, right? With a similar pronunciation, but the way you stress a particular word, the meaning changes. Same thing with the word present, right? So if you say present, I'm giving a present, right? That means a gift. And if I say present, right? Present, that means I'm introducing myself. I'm presenting Sadia in this course, right? So depending on the stress of the words or where you are putting the stress, the meaning of the word changes. Stress also changes the meaning of a particular sentence altogether, right? For we have, for example, our example, why are you late to the office? Right? Why are you late to the office? But if I say, why are you late to the office? My intonation changes. Intonation means my volume or a certain way of speaking. There's intonation changes. So saying why are you late to the office, which may give an example of curiosity. But if I raise my voice and say, why are you late to the office? That means anger. Right? So changing the whole meaning of a particular sentence of the person who's speaking. So English, along with you being having a non-phonetic language, right, where a certain word can have same spelling but different pronunciation, same pronunciation but different spelling. You've got same word with similar pronunciation but with a different stress can change the whole meaning of a particular word. Same thing within a particular sentence, that if you change the intonation of your voice, the meaning of a certain sentence changes. Those are some of the difficulties of our English language. In our next session, we're going to look at some of the important mistakes to avoid for pronunciation. There are 5 common mistakes to avoid for a pronunciation. The first one we're going to look at is pronouncing heteronyms the same way. What are heteronyms? Right? Like we looked at READ, right? Where it can be pronounced as read or read, right? But the pronunciation is different. So heteronyms are words with the same spelling but different pronunciation. An example we are looking at is DOVE. DOVE. DOVE can be pronounced as dove, as in the bird dove, right? Or DOVE can be pronounced as dove, as in the verb of dive. Dove, right? International. We had a few years back. We had a accident where you had some of the Thai footballers' children got stuck in a cave, right? So the divers dove into the cave to rescue the children, right? Dove. So that's heteronym. So make sure you don't pronounce the heteronyms the same way. In your materials, you'll find some of the examples of the heteronyms where you've got the same spelling but different pronunciation. Now, opposite to heteronyms is what we have: homophones. Right? Homophones are different spelling but pronounced exactly the same. So many of us, since it is a different spelling, we tend to pronounce it differently. No, homophones are words which are spelled differently but with the exact same pronunciation. An example over there is, we have PEAR, like the fruit, PEAR, and PAIR. Two things similar. PAIR, right? They are pronounced pear. So what you eat is pronounced as pear, and what your pair of socks is also pronounced same. Pear, PEAR is pear, PAIR is also pear. Right? In your handouts, I've given some of the examples of your homophones. Now, another mistake number 3, which we tend to do, is pronouncing each vowel the same way. Each vowel the same way. In your slide, if we look at the 3 words, LOVE, COVE, MOVE. So the vowel O is there in all those words, right? All those words end with OVE, 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 LOVE, COVE, MOVE, right? Right? But you do not pronounce it in the same way. That vowel, you don't pronounce it in the same way. So LOVE becomes love. COVE becomes cove. MOVE becomes move. So of, ov, uv. You see, this is another third mistakes we commonly do, right? Where we pronounce the same vowel same way. You shouldn't. You should be pronouncing it differently. The fourth mistake is pronouncing TH. TH the same way. TH has 2 distinct sounds, right? One which we call voiced TH, the other one which we call voiceless TH. Voiced TH is a voice which is a sound which comes from your throat. The TH voice comes from your throat. And voiceless TH, there is no voice, there's no sound from your throat. It is called voiceless TH. Examples of voiced TH is the words like the, than, though, and so forth, right? Where if you put 2 fingers, 2 of these fingers in your throat, right? When you say the, you will actually feel if certain vibrations in your throat. The, though, and so forth. That's your voice coming from your throat. When we speak a voiceless TH, when we pronounce a voiceless TH, if you put your two fingers in your throat, there should not be any vibrations, right? That means try not to speak from your throat. It's just an air coming out. So for example, thank you, thank you, through. Make sure, try and practice that you do not feel any vibrations in your throat. Just a passing of air through. Thank you. Through. Thank you. Right? That's path. That is what we called a voiceless th. Through. Thank you. Path. Right? So in your course notes, in your materials, you'll see examples of, again, some of the voice th and the voiceless th. Now, the last and most important and one of the most common mistakes which we do in our pronunciation is pronouncing certain silent alphabets in a word where it should be silent, right? Where it should be silent. An example in the PowerPoint presentation which we have in front of us, where I say, I used the last of the shampoo, right? I used. So the USED, I actually pronounce ED, right? I pronounce the ED. I used the last of the shampoo, correct? But if you look at the next sentence, the example of the next, I used to hate broccoli. I used to. So I don't go like used, I just go use and to. So I used to hate broccoli, right? Now, English has certain general rules, right? For many of the alphabets, it has certain general rules, right? For those silent letters, how we're going to look at those silent letters. But as I said, saying it is general, but there's always exceptions to those rules, right? There's always exceptions to those rules. So in your material, right, I've given you the rules of silent letters, right, if you go through them. But as I said, there are always there are always exceptions to the rules. One of the first examples I've put in over there is rule number 1, where you've got B. If a B comes after an M at the end of the word, if the alphabet B comes after the alphabet M at the end of a word, the B becomes silent. Many times we've heard a lot of our friends saying, oh, you're dumb, right? There's a bomb, right? You are dumb. No, it is dumb. Just D-U-M. No B at the end. Although the spelling says D-U-M-B, when you pronounce, it's just D-U-M. Dumb. Right? These are some of the examples. When I say, it is not thumb, it is thumb. T-H-U-M-B becomes thumb. B after an M at the end of the word is silent. So this is what the rules are, right? Rules of silent letters. Another example of B is if it comes before a T. If the B comes before a T, like debt. A lot of the times we hear DEBT. I've got a debt to pay. Right? It is not debt. Right? You don't pronounce the letter B. I got a debt to pay. It just becomes DET, simple DET. When you say doubtful, right? DOBT or doubt, I don't go doubt. The B is silent. So if you look at our course notes, there are many rules of silent words. I urge you to go through them. Right? Go through the silence. Those rules are pretty much self-explanatory. Right? An example, some of the examples I've given is, for example, AISLE. Right? AISLE. Many of our friends go whenever they book a train seat or a bus seat or a plane seat. Please book me an aisle seat. Right? Please book me an aisle seat. There's no aisle seat. It is aisle seat. Look at the rule as to why S is silent in AISLE. Why is S silent in ISLAND? Right? Australia is a big island, not island. Australia is a big island. Right? Look at why S is silent. Look at why G is silent or GH is silent in particular words like rough, not enough, tough. We looked at those words, right? So look at those words. Go through those course materials which we have provided, and you'll see there are certain rules with certain alphabets. And these are general rules. Of course, there will always be exceptions to those rules. Right? There will always be exceptions to those rules. Now, after hearing me, where I talked about English being a non-phonetic language, we're talking about some words which are the same spelling but pronounced differently, some words with the same pronunciation but different spelling. It is daunting. It is very scary. We get very scared. Right? I mean, how am I going to know which words, although it is the same spelling, I have to pronounce differently? Right? Although they are different spelling, I have to pronounce it the same way. Some of the words, the meanings changes as to where in which syllable I put a stress and which syllable I don't put a stress. The whole meaning of the word changes. Right? These are pretty scary. These are pretty daunting. You're going to think, look, how am I going to know all these rules? How am I going to know all this? There's no easy way out, guys. I'm sorry, but there is no easy way out. You have to surround yourself with English. You have to practice. So looking at all this difficulty in pronunciation, where we talked about why English is such a difficult when it comes to pronunciation, right? Where we looked at English is a non-phonetic language. There are words with the same spelling but different pronunciation. There are words with different spelling but same pronunciation. There are words which exact same pronunciation, but the way you stress a certain syllable, the whole meaning changes. The intonation of certain words, the sentences, We looked at silent words and so forth. I mean, there are so many things to look at. I mean, how, as a layman, as a non-native speaker, am I going to learn all those things? How am I going to know all those things? Well, guys, the bad news is there's no easy shortcut. The only way you'll be able to learn these things is to practice through surrounding yourselves with English language as much as possible. Listening to English, speaking English, see how others are speaking out, how others are speaking certain words, reading and then speaking it, right? There's no easy way for you to know that this particular words, which are same spelling but different meanings, right? There's no easy way for you to know, right? Same spellings but different pronunciation. There's no easy way for you to know. Same pronunciation but different spellings. There's no easy way for you to know, right? There's no easy way for us to know the silent letters. This all will come through practice and surrounding ourselves with English, right? So I know it is daunting, it's a bit scary, but that's the only way we can overcome this. Practice enough. I mean, you look at how an infant learns a particular English. Does an infant, when they're growing up, when you learn a language, do you look at its spelling? Do you look at it? Does your mom come and say, this is the spelling and this is how you pronounce? No. You start off with pronunciation, right? You don't even look at the spellings. That's how it should be. Surround yourselves with English. Listen, 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 speak, listen, speak, listen, speak, read, pronounce those words, and so forth. That's the only way you will be able to do it. Now, the next slides, I'm going to show you a slightly tricky way, right? A shortcut way of learning pronunciation, right? It's called back chaining. Back chaining is used a lot by actors and right? Actors in movies to learn a certain accent or pronunciation, right? For example, you'll have a lot of British actors, when they move to Hollywood in America, they have to learn the American accent, right? They have to learn the American accent. When you've got a lot of Americans going over the Atlantic and going to British cinemas, they have to learn the British accent, right? So the way they do it is called back chaining. It's even done by English speakers who go and act in, let's say, a Spanish movie or a Japanese movie or a Chinese movie or a Hindi movie, or, like I said, maybe Spanish actors going and acting in an English movie or so forth. It's what we call back chaining. Now, the way back chaining works is you look at a particular word, right? You look at a particular word, you go to a native speaker or the language or this word or the speaker you're trying to copy. You look at a particular word, you break it down into syllables. Syllables are sounds, right? Each word has certain sounds, right? So you break it down. For example, in our slide, we have pronunciation. Pronunciation, right? Pronunciation. So the word pronunciation has 5 syllables. Very simple. So I go to a native speaker, I ask him to spell, to pronounce. He pronounces it, and you look at it, you hear it, and you write it down. Pronunciation. But for you to learn, you learn it backwards. Okay? So the first syllable you actually learn is shun, 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 shun. Pronunciation. The last syllable is shun. Then you go a shun, the last two syllables. Then you go C-ation, C-ation, C-ation. Then you go nunciation, 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 and you go pronunciation. This is the easiest way for you to quickly learn a certain pronunciation. It could be anything. It could be English, Japanese, Chinese, Hindi, Bengali, whichever. That's how actors in movies learn pronunciation. Right? Is what we call back chaining. If you look at the another slide, we have the word information. Information, right? Information. So I go to a native speaker. I tell him, can you please pronounce it slowly? He pronounces it slowly. Information. So you start off by pronouncing shen. You write the first syllable for you to practice is shen, shen, shen. And mation, mation. Formation, formation, formation. And then you go information. This is the easiest way for you to learn pronunciation. Right? Let us look at some of the examples of the backchain, some words we have looked at. Sadia, if you could practice with me some of the backchaining, right? I want you to pronounce these words along with me, right? The first word we are looking at is what? February. So how would you backchain? Yeah. So when you are going to learn pronunciation, you're going to first learn re, right? Re, and then you'll go as eri, 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 right? Then you'll go by ru eri, ru eri, ru eri, and then you'll go as February, February. Yeah? So that's how you learn a pronunciation of any word. You look at a certain syllable. You break down a word into syllables and you start learning from the last syllable. The next word we are looking at is Wednesday. I know many of us pronounce it as Wednesday, right? Many of us pronounce it as Wednesday, but if you go to a native speaker, he or she will go as Wednesday, right? Wednesday. So it's got two syllables, day, right? D-A-Y, day, and the first syllable is Wednesday. So Wednesday, 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 right? Wednesday. If we look at the third word, we're looking at ambassador, ambassador, right? Ambassador. So you will, in your how you want to pronounce, you will write those 4 syllables. But when you practice, you'll go like from the from the last, der, ambassador. So then you'll go Seder, Seder, Ambassador, Ambassador, Ambassador,
Ambassador.
right? Same thing with knowledge, knowledge, two syllables, you'll go psychiatrist, psychiatrist. This is what we call back chaining, right? So this comes to an end of our second session. We went in depth into the pronunciation, the difficulties of English pronunciation, right? English is largely a non-phonetic language. What you see is not how you always pronounce, right? So many words which we call heteronyms, you've got the same spelling but different pronunciation. Homophones, where you've got the same pronunciation but different spellings. We've looked at some words having the same pronunciation, but depending on how you stress a certain syllable, the meaning changes. We looked at intonation of sentences or words, changes a particular meaning of a sentence or words. We looked at silent words, right? So these are some of the difficulties of why English pronunciation is difficult, and how we can learn to pronounce words by a system called back chaining. Right? Back chaining is used a lot by different actors when they try to learn a certain accent of a certain region. Right? It's called back chaining. And I mentioned, and I'm repeating it again, there is no easy way out. It is difficult, and you need to practice a lot into the English. Right? So please go through the materials we've provided. Look at the words. Look at some of the rules of silent words. Look at the homophone words. Look at the heteronym words. Right? Look at some of the stressed words. Practice them. And we will see you again in our third session.